Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. I think that there is a silent killer in business, and it's not one that typically shows up on your income statement on your P&L until it's maybe too late. I don't think it screams at you in the way that a missed sales target may scream at you or a bad quarter may scream at you. What is this? What is this silent killer? I think it's churn, specifically client churn. Churn quietly destroys your business, especially if you're looking to scale your business. I want you to think about it this way. If you lost, let's say, 20% of your clients in a year, you would need 25% growth just to remain flat. Just remain flat. So let's say you had 100 clients and you lost 20% of them. So your 100 went to 80. You would need 25% growth, which is adding 20 people back just to get back to that 100. So you're sprinting on a treadmill that essentially only speeds up. Today, I want to unpack this a little bit more. Why I think retention arguably is the new growth, and why keeping clients is more powerful than constantly chasing new ones. Then I think we're going to break down a few tactical levers you can use right now. Post-sale engagement, how to surprise and delight, and then lastly, community building. Before we dive in, though, I just want to be super clear. I'm not saying stop looking to grow. This isn't one of those or conversations where you either grow or you retain. This is you grow and you reduce churn, you retain. Make sense? So why does this retention matter? I think there's some obvious reasons why it matters, but let's dive a little bit deeper into this. Okay. So Bain and Company, which is a consulting organization, found that a 5% increase in client retention can boost profits anywhere from 25 to 95%. That's compounding. Meanwhile, acquiring new customers in your typical business costs 5 to 7 times more than keeping an existing one. So it costs 5 to 7x more to go get a new client than it costs to actually keep one. I think the problem here is that most businesses have a tendency to focus almost all of their energy, 90% of their energy, on acquisition. And if you look at their ads, if you look at their funnels, if you look at the way they structure their sales teams, that's where the focus happens to be. And they end up neglecting the clients that they've already won. It's like filling up a bucket of water without noticing there's an actual hole in the bottom of the bucket. So if you want to scale, you cannot afford a leak like that. Churn, it's an interesting thing because I don't think it makes a lot of noise. Clients kind of slip away quietly. They stop replying to your messages or your phone calls. They start to disengage. They leave without warning. And as a business leader, it's really easy to notice this sort of thing, but you notice it way too late. You notice it when revenue drops or when panic sets in or when maybe growth slows a little bit. So it's been masking it up until this point. I think that's why churn in this way is so dangerous, and it really kills quietly. Now, the good news is I think there's some tactics that we can all be thinking around. And I'm sure, like everyone here, we're not neglecting our current clients, but I think that it's a fair statement to say we could all be doing a better job. So I think, tactically speaking, the first thing we could think around is post-sale engagement. What do I mean? I mean, the sale is never the finish line. It's actually the starting line. So I think the best companies deliver their biggest value in the first 30 to 60 days with a client with seamless onboarding, depending on your type of service or product, with clear education, with tangible quick wins. When your clients feel guided and supported right after the sale, their trust deepens and their loyalty extends. Now, we got to just break this down a little bit because there's there's sale of service and there's sale of product. So post sale of a product, that's when we get to work in onboarding and in clear education and tangible wins. When I'm thinking about the sale that is service, maybe in real estate, let's say you are selling on the front end, both in terms of I've now secured this client. So you have to immediately onboard them in a great way and educate them and give them tangible quick wins. But then there's also post sale, meaning like post acquisition of their home, where you've got 30 to 60 days where a lot of us just kind of go dark and say, okay, we've just spent all this time together. And I contend that might be a great opportunity to plug in, to focus on retention and immediately, at the very least, procure new referrals or relationships. So tactical retention lever number one, look at your post-sale engagement. Tactical retention lever number two is surprise and delight. Clients don't leave companies that they feel emotionally connected to. Now, when I think surprise and delight, I'm not talking about buying expensive gifts for them. I'm talking about, the thoughtful touches. If you've read the book Unreasonable Hospitality, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. The handwritten note, the birthday message, the celebration of the client's success, the understanding of the person and not just the transaction. I think moments like this create stories that clients can really retell. I think they turn transactions into relationships. Lastly, when I think around a third lever, a tactical retention lever, I think about community building. The strongest retention strategy is not usually your product or your service. It's the tribe that you can create around it. You can certainly create a tribe around a product. You can create a tribe around a service or a feeling. When clients are part of a community, when when there's in-person events, when there's roundtables, masterminds, training, even like chats or Slack groups or whatever it may be, leaving those groups leaving you means leaving that community. Makes sense? And so it's such a harder decision. I think a sense of belonging is really a sense of retention or retention insurance. Think about the products or the services that you have an allegiance to. Think about the community that maybe you're part of with respect to that product or that service. It's a lot harder to leave when you're attached to that community. For a long time, I owned, of all things, a CrossFit gym. And the strongest thing going in that CrossFit gym was not necessarily the health benefits everybody was gaining, though that was important. It was the community. We had very, 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 very little churn. And it was because of the stickiness of the community. Nobody wanted to leave their friends, the bonds that were created. I think about some products that I use, right now, from a clothing standpoint, I wear a lot of Viore, which is like whatever they call it, athletic leisure or athleisure or what, I don't know what the term is. But I think from a community standpoint, Viore's doing a good job with this. Lululemon does a good job with this. There's lots of other great examples where you feel like you're part of, a group or a community. So in summary, retention doesn't tend to get the headlines. It doesn't feel glamorous, but I think it's really the difference between running in circles and then, versus truly creating this compounding growth. So what I'm going to tell you is that I think you ought to maybe obsess a little less. I'm not going to say stop obsessing, but obsess a little less over acquisition, new client acquisition, and obsess a bit more on keeping the clients that you've already earned. Because I think at the end of the day, retention truly is the new growth. So this week or this weekend, or whenever you're listening to this podcast over the next few days, pick one of these levers that I just described and deploy it. Maybe add one new post-sale touch point. Or maybe write 5 handwritten notes, or maybe schedule your first, client luncheon or event. Retention is where the growth begins. Protect what you've built. You've worked so hard to build this, protect it, and then watch how much easier or simpler scaling becomes. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.